Okay, so if this works, basically we should see it start in like an ignite state, and then I'll light it, and then it should start changing the flame on its own and moving through some different states. And if it blows out, it should go back to the ignite state, and I'll light it again, and then it'll keep going. So we'll see if it works. Our little self-ignition trigger stopped working. Alright, should be in the ignite state. Now, if all goes according to plan, it should know that there's a flame and move on to the next state. Had an issue with my database drivers, which means I probably defined something illegally or whatever. We'll see. Okay, so I think I'm about ready to run an actual experiment with the whole automation thing and everything, which is really sweet. If this works the way it's supposed to, basically it will automatically detect if there's a flame. It will go to a certain kind of input setting or whatever that I figured out is good for lighting the flame if there isn't. And then it will wait for there to be a flame, and then it'll start reading basically test points from a file, and it'll command my mass flow controllers to go to the next test point. And it'll kind of keep sampling all my sensors as it's moving through my test points and between my test points. And if at any point the flame goes out, it comes back and goes back to our reignition state, and then it just skips ahead to the next state. So I'm going to do a short run that basically just tests about 10 different test points. Eventually I'm going to do maybe 1,000 or so. But I think I've got all my bugs worked out. So, fingers crossed. Ignite! Having problems with my database class. Perception curve. Size of field dynamic ambient P is too long. Shoot. Alright. So it turns out that Microsoft limits text fields to 255 characters in Access databases. They are the Twitter of text field databases, which means that I cannot store my dynamic pressure readings, which are, at least a couple hundred characters, well, several hundred characters long, as comma-delimited text. So I'm just going to store the binary values and deal with it later. At least I'm going to try it. See if it works. Going again. I think it's working. Except it's not changing. So for whatever reason, once it runs the next state, it seems like it is starting out saying that there's no flame even when there's a flame. So I tried to make it a little less sensitive. And then there was also an issue where it wasn't really like continuing in the way that I wanted it to with no flame. So that has been fixed, which means that now if it really never thinks that there's a flame, it'll probably just cycle through all the states that I want it to do really quick, and that's maybe okay. At least it'll go through. I mean, it's not good, but it'll go through. Oh my gosh, it worked! That's what it was supposed to do. That's awesome! So it works. That's crazy exciting. I need to do a couple things. I need to make sure that I'm either giving it way more fuel than I need to, or that I'm not telling it to output as much total fuel. Essentially limit the total fuel flow rate that I'm demanding from all three of my fuel lines. Because a couple of those states, it basically waits until it's close enough to what you're trying to get to before moving on. And a couple of those, it doesn't have enough, essentially enough pressure on the fuel line in order to get to where it's trying to go. So, still some tuning to do, but that's pretty cool.